So I am right now en la página uno del the paquete de verbos. So the big packet of verbs, the 29 pages. I'm on that first page. If you could you can pause this and get there. I just want to give you the terminaciones for ear, just because you'll need them soon. So say that we have a verb like escribir, and we want to conjugate that in the presente and the pretérito. So in the presente, we would have escribo, and in the pretérito, we would have escribí. Comer, remember, ER and IR are typically very similar. And in this case, they're identical. So you have the I ending for ER and then the I ending for IR. Then for tú, for the presente, we have escribes and then escribiste. Again, the same as the iste ending, just like the ER, pardon. Then we have escribe for he writes or he does write or she writes. And then we have escribio. So we have that yo, just like we do with ER. Both are going to be escribimos for presente and pretérito. Then you have escribís for y'all, right? For the presente. And then the pretérito, remember, we take the to form, escribisteis, escribiste, and we're going to add is. Then we have escriben, and we have escribieron. So those are your endings for your IR verbs. So what I'm doing now is I'm just on page página 11, and I'll just review what you had to do for homework, and that is doing the ER verbs. So for creer, we want to know that that's considerar una cosa como verdadera or segura, and that is to consider. I'm just going to write the English since you had homework for this. Something true or sure. And this is, we actually have a little bit of irregularity here. The presente is going to be regular, but then in the pretérito, we have creí, creíste, and then we have that creyó. The Y is what makes it irregular. Then we have creímos, and then we have creísteis. And then we have creyeron. So we have that Y again in the ellos, ellas, ustedes form. Next we have deber. Deber means to owe or should or ought to. So if I say like debo mucho dinero, that means to owe money or to ought to. Like I ought to, debo estudiar, I should study or should. And that is to have a debt or to have a moral obligation. And that's both, it's going to be regular in both presente and pretérito. So we can just conjugate it like a regular ER verb. Aprender is the same, it's regular, but we want to know that this one is adquirir el conocimiento. So we're saying to acquire knowledge of something by studying or experience. Next we have prender, to turn on, like prender la luz. We could say prender la luz or prender la tele or prender el teléfono or la máquina. And this is encender. So it's to turn on or to start. Encender is to turn on or to start. Iniciar. And this is regular in both the presente and the pretérito. Next we have oler. This is an irregular one. We have the presente already here. Huelo, hueles, hueles. So you say you smell. This means to smell or smell like. When you say oler a. So if you say huele a flores, you're saying it smells like flowers. So it's one of our O to UE verbs. It's really weird though because it does change to the HU. In the nosotros, vosotros, it's one of our bota verbs. So we can just do a little bota to remind ourselves. And then the preterito, we have oli, oliste. We have some accents in there that we normally don't have. Olio, olimos, olistes, and olir. Normally we don't have all those accents, but we do it with oler. And I'm not going to test you on those accents. I just want to point it out. Then here we have comer, tomar un alimento por la boca, to take a nutrient or nutrients. Alimento is a nutrient through the mouth. And as I said here, it's regular in the preterito and in the presente. Ver, we have to see, percibir algo material por medio de la vista, to perceive something through sight. And it's mostly regular. In the presente, we have veo, ves, ve, vemos, veis, ven. And then in the preterito, it is a bit irregular. So let's just check those out. We have preterito, we have vi, viste, vio, vimos, visteis, and vieron. We have comprender, which is regular in both of them. And we have tener una idea clara de algo, to have a clear idea of something. Correr is also regular. And for this one, we have desplazarse, which means to travel rápidamente con pasos largos. So we want to say to travel with quickly with long strides or steps. Responder, it's another regular. And for that, we want decir algo de forma oral or escrita, to say something in a written or oral form. And that's to respond. Vender, regular. Dar una cosa a cambio de una determinada cantidad de dinero, or to give something in exchange for a determined amount of money. So that's to sell. Saber. Saber, we have that yo irregular. And I'm not going to have you do the preterito for this one because it is really irregular. And I want you to, we'll talk about that later after this chapter, after this unit. But it's just that say in the yo form, the rest are regular, sabemos. And you don't need to know the preterito for that one. And this one is conocimiento profundo. So you have a profound knowledge of something. And I'm going to take off tener sabor de algo because it also means to taste. So you would say sabe a vainilla or sabe a chocolate. But let's just go with that one definition for now. Traer is to bring. So we have that, it's called a yo-go verb. And that just means in the yo, we have that go, like traigo, pongo, tengo. Those are all yo-go verbs. And then it's regular in the rest of the forms. So it's the yogos usually just have that one that's right irregular, and that's what the case. And we do not need to know the pretérito for this one because it's really irregular, and I don't want to talk about that one yet. We'll do that with the next unit. Then we have hacer. That's another yogo verb. So that's hago, and and then the rest are regular. So just the yo, and then you have haces, hace, hacemos. And we have realizar una actividad, un movimiento, una tarea. So this is to achieve, this is to do. So to achieve an activity, a movement, or a task or a homework, a task. And we didn't do the definition for traer, llevar a una persona. So to bring a person or a thing to another place. So that's to bring. So to carry a person or a thing to another place. Then we have escoger, which means to choose. So we have elegir o tomar una o más cosas entre varias. So it's to choose or take one or more things. One or more things and be among many. When you're choosing them, you're choosing something among many. And there's one irregularity with this one, and that's just because in the yo form, when you say, if you wanted to say this, escogo, that wouldn't work. So we need to change that G in the yo form to a J to say escojo. But then it's not a problem in the to form. We go right back to that G, escoges, escoge, escogemos. It's just regular everywhere else. And it's regular in the preterite too. It's just that G going to a J for the preservation, because otherwise the GO would be escogo. And we need to preserve that h sound. And that's it. Those are all the verbs. So your homework is going to be, you're going to finish. Now you're going to do the rest of the verbs. You're going to do the IR verbs. You're going to fill in the definitions. And let's just go to Schoology for a second here. And we want to do the ER practice. You have the ER definitions. Oh, so you have the ER practice due for today. Okay, so let me actually review that now, because you had it for homework. Boom. All right, so let's just go over these now. So here we have okay. So we have do you believe in God? And that should be crees en Dios. Should we go to the mall this weekend? So that's deber. So it would be debemos. Nosotras ir al centro comercial. What do we learn today? What did we learn today in science class? ¿Qué aprendimos? What did we learn? Down here, you're making sentences with the verbs. Tú siempre, you always, something la tele cuando quiero leer, no me gusta. You always what? The television. And we're looking for turn on. So it would be tú siempre prendes la tele. Nosotros en la clase de gimnasia ayer, what did we do in gym class? Probably we ran. So we would say, and since it's ayer, we know it's the past. Corrimos instead of corremos. Mi familia, Blanco, nuestra clase. What did we do with our house el año pasado, last year? Ahora tenemos una casa. So probably vender. Mi familia vendió. Did you guys see the last episode of Bridgerton? And so we want to say vieron because it's you guys, ustedes. ¿Qué piensas? What are you thinking about eating? So since we have piensas, we can put our infinitive because we don't have two conjugated verbs. So what do you think to eat during lunch today? Do you guys know where Spanish class is? So, ¿sabéis vosotros dónde es la clase de español? Here we want to say it smells good here. So we're going to use huele, huele bien aquí. And no comprender. And we don't have a subject actually for this one, so we could put yo in there. Yo no comprendo nada en la clase de física. If you put a different subject, it's okay. And then we have responder. We got that one. So ¿quién respondió? Because we're saying who, so it would be third person singular. ¿Quién respondió a muchas preguntas en la clase de señora Cordiale Eva? So what I'm going to ask you to do is, if you can, do your best here. You're going to do your ER and IR practice here. And what you can use to write your original sentences is, after all the verbs, I did put little words that you can put the sentences together with. So I'd like you to put together some sentences for that last section. And then, as much as you can, fill in your IR verbs, the definitions. There's only a few verbs left. So if you can work on that for the next class, we have that test coming up next week. So we want to get done and start reviewing. So I will be giving you a review sheet in class, and your test was moved to Friday. So that's good because we do have a little extra time. If you have any conflicts with the test being that day instead, please see me and we can work something out. But for next class, this is now Friday, but for the next time I see you, it should be Tuesday. You are going to do that. You're going to fill in as many of those IR verbs as you can. And then you want to do that IR practice, which is on the last 2 pages of this document, 27 and 28. And then you just start as much as you can study, but we're going to be doing review in class 2. Muchas gracias, estudiantes. Adiós.